Hey everyone, welcome back to Game Brigade. My name is Bryan.
I'm Michael.
And today we're going to be doing the month in review, month in recap for the month of July. Normally on this episode, we kind of just talk about myself and what we've been doing and all the background stuff. But I really want to dive more into the industry news for the month of July. And who would be better to bring on the show than Michael, as he is all about industry news and talking about it. I still do want to talk about some of the things I watched in July, in case you have some opinions. For people who have been viewers of the show, we've been talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, the new phase.
Not the new phase. I'm old phase because I haven't watched many Marvel movies.
Same.
So me and my wife,
the experts to talk about it.
We are two experts here, certified experts. So me and my wife have been going through watching Marvel through the MCU in timeline order.
Are you talking also Disney Plus shows, and are you also talking cable shows?
So I have a phone thing that said watch them in this order, but it does include TV shows. But all that stuff occurs after Endgame, at least for the new stuff.
Okay.
So like Loki and
the Scarlet Witch one.
Scarlet Witch one. I don't know what it's called.
Yep.
So I haven't seen any of those.
Okay.
Actually, I've seen Loki, but I didn't know what the heck was going on because I had no clue what was going on in Loki at all, because I'm like, what is happening? When does this take place? The whole point of it was that it doesn't matter. So anyways, we're at Black Panther. So we just finally watched Black Panther.
Did you like it?
I actually very much enjoyed Black Panther. Took me by surprise because it was the villain for that show was it's like one of the first villains, and I feel like in a Marvel movie that I watched at that point that was like other than Loki, that was like engaging, who I cared about.
Yeah. It's it's good when they're not just so one-sided.
Exactly. He had some character depth to him. Plus, he was kind of a badass. Like, he was just cool. So I really, really enjoyed it.
I think all bad guys should be cool. I love the cool bad guy, right? So, and I don't know if it's growing up with a guy of.
So is Lex Luthor cool?
Lex Luthor?
Is he cool?
No. But
is he a good villain? Who's Batman's villain? Batman doesn't have like a core villain, right? Or is it Joker?
It's a Joker, yeah. But I mean, Batman. Okay, so
because I feel like you're a Batman guy.
Batman has the best rogue gallery in any comic book.
You're saying like the villains?
Yeah. So the rogue gallery is their enemies, right? Their group of enemies. It goes Batman, Spider-Man, and then everybody else.
I brought up Lex Luthor because I watched a video where they talked about the best and most interesting villains are the ones who are not superheroes or who have not normal super strength. Lex Luthor obviously is just a normal guy, but he's incredibly smart, and he uses those smarts to try to defeat Superman.
Sure.
Right? Loki obviously is a god and whatnot, but he's not like super powerful, but he uses his trickstery stuff to screw around. I was going to say a different word. Screw around with Thor. Yeah. So I thought that was an interesting thing. The most interesting villains are the ones who are kind of different. So kind of counter what we were just talking about with Black Panther. The guy is basically just a clone of Black Panther. He's just he's like Ryu and Ken here. I'm assuming there's a better analogy.
Yeah, because they're not clones, sir.
But they're the same guy.
Only one of them's even American. Yeah,
they're both the same guy.
No, one's Goku, one's Vegeta.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. It's the same. So, but I still really enjoyed the movie overall.
Yeah.
Very much was captivating. I then watched Thor Ragnarok.
Wait, before we move on to that, how'd you find the end fight in Black Panther?
That was the one that was the CGI on the train.
Yeah, and it's not even good CGI.
So that was the thing I knew about the fight because people talked about the fight was so bad. It really didn't bother me too much. What bothered me the most is when they would like show their faces with the suit still on, because it felt really fake to me at times.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the Halo show got in trouble for this.
Oh, I just watched that. I think
constantly taking off the helmet, right?
I don't know if I talked about that last season.
Spider-Man does it more. If you look at all the Spider-Man movies, he does it more and more and more.
Yeah,
and constantly. Not even even from like Tobey Maguire. Like they just keep taking off more.
I did watch Halo. I can't remember now if I talked about that, but I just finished the Halo series. It was weird because it wasn't Halo.
That's well put.
It wasn't Halo. Like if you're watching it, you're like, this is not Halo. But I was still intrigued enough to watch the entire series. But the Master Chief in that show was definitely not the Master Chief that you would recognize if you're a Halo fan.
He's not stoic enough. They made him. I mean,
not,
I understand not wanting him to be stoic.
He's like broken. He's going through traumatic issues. He's dealing with things. He falls in love.
Like all heroes nowadays. All the
it just like Master Chief is ultra stoic, and to the point that he's just always on task.
Yeah.
Always taking it to the fight. You know, this one is like just.
Yeah.
Like the whole time, like helmet off, looking around clueless, trying to figure things out, and you're like
shoveling dirt.
Yeah, so did you watch it?
I've watched enough reviews that I've seen
okay.
The whole
and what's really stinks is the first
episode by episode.
5 minutes is pure Halo. Even to the point where they're showing first-person shooterness of it, and you're like, all right.
They do that a few times, actually.
Yeah, they
right?
do.
Yeah.
But very specifically, the first 5 minutes is pure Halo, and you're like, oh, this is gonna... And then it's not that for 7 episodes of the rest of the 9. And then the next... They
typically do that because nowadays they release like the first few episodes.
Yeah.
Right? And so everybody watched that and like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Can't wait.
Then it just
Yep.
derails afterwards.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. Yeah. So Black Panther, the last fight was okay. I actually appreciated the fight.
It's like Wonder Woman's end.
The one that was... They actually fought above, I'm pretty sure, where they had the mountain tribe come in and fight. And they were kind of fighting each other. I really liked the guard, the female guards.
Yeah. Well, the whole culture aspect of it is super
cool. So that
above
fight, I really enjoyed. But the fight with... I can't remember the guy's name. I want to say Warmonger, but I don't think it's Warmonger. Yeah. I can't remember his name. But that fight was okay. It did feel CGI-ish. Not as bad as some of the current CGI that we're seeing in some of the trailers.
Did it come out around the time of Wonder Woman? The original one? Because Wonder Woman's end fight was the same thing, right? It was a very CGI...
Yeah.
I'm fighting an old guy.
But I very much liked Wonder Woman a lot. Yeah. Although Gal Gadot, that her name, she can only play Wonder Woman. I have not enjoyed any movie that she's in
where she's not Wonder Woman.
Where she's not Wonder Woman. When she's Wonder Woman, I'm like, this woman is made to be Wonder Woman. She plays an incredible role.
Do you think she could play Lara Croft?
Yeah, she's got the look.
I thought that too.
You know, if you're looking for purely aesthetic, I mean, she's got the look of Lara Croft. You know, more so than Angelina Jolie to me, but whatever. So then, keeping on track here a little bit.
On track.
This is exactly what I wanted, though. Yeah. I wanted someone to talk to. Thor Ragnarok.
It's nice.
Yeah, Thor Ragnarok.
Okay.
My wife saw this one. She hated it the first time she watched it. So now we got to watch it together. And I think I did see this one, but I had no clue why Hulk and Thor were on this planet.
Yeah.
Because, again, I didn't see some of the Avengers stuff.
So for two reasons. First of all, they're trying to do like a Planet Hulk kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of comic book related, which was cool that they did it this way. The reason Hulk and Thor are not there is because they were not there in Civil War.
Yeah.
And they weren't there in this, and I'm talking comics, right?
Yeah.
And they're not there in Civil War because whoever had them would win.
Yeah,
right? It was literally. It's like, okay, we got to get rid of all the like super powerful characters. So Iron Man and
so
Captain America can
does
fight.
This show? Did this movie say that Thor is the most powerful Avenger?
I don't know if the movie did or not, but he is a literal god.
I get that. Well, is he a literal god because he prays to the gods?
Yeah, no,
they have gods themselves.
Yeah, no, he's a god.
I was talking about this with my wife. I'm like, if Thor's a god, then who's his god? Yeah. Are there levels of gods in the Thor world?
Oh, there's totally tiers.
Yeah, tier gods. Okay,
but I mean, so like, well, I mean, there's like Zeus and there's like everybody else.
But in this,
like
by the way, spoilers throughout this show. If you
I guess,
spoilers.
If you haven't watched these old movies,
there's a battle between Hulk and Thor, and Thor clearly does win that fight. Yes. I feel like until the guy,
which is impressive because Hulk is one of the few superheroes, unlike Thor, that does not have a max power level.
Yeah,
his is infinite.
Yeah,
technically.
So Thor won.
Yeah,
but Thor wins. So I would, and the big running joke throughout the whole show up to that point has been the strongest Avenger, and he's not the strongest Avenger. Like one of the passwords. That he was trying to enter in was like, who's the strongest Avenger or something.
Yeah,
but it's like Iron Man.
Yeah,
or something.
It's something stupid. Yeah,
yeah.
Well, so the problem with some of these, kind of like, do you remember in Star Wars, The Force Awakens, when they capture Phantasma or whatever her name was?
Yeah, at the very end of the movie.
Yeah, and then
she's
spoiler.
She's literally right behind you, by the way. Okay, whatever. She's looking really badass.
Yeah,
character that was completely.
I'll knock her over later. But and then they had the janitor win and stuff like that because it was like a whole setup for a joke.
Yeah.
Right. Takiti's movies are kind of like that, right? Where it's like he can't, if he sees a joke, he can't help but make it.
Yeah.
And so he'll do something like that.
I do feel like
time.
so far the MCU movies have done very well with their comedy. I've been very impressed with a lot of the I feel like they've been well timed, well placed. With Star Wars, I felt like Star Wars, like Last Jedi, tried to go down the same route, and completely ruined Last Jedi, in my opinion. Based on it, just didn't feel like I was no longer the target audience. It felt like it was made for a 5 or 6 year old, and maybe it was, because that's who they're assuming is going to buy the toys. They're wrong, because adult 35-year-old men are who
with
buys
expendable income buy the expensive Lego sets.
Exactly,
kids can't afford that crap.
That's who buys the toys. Disney, not 5-year-olds. Your 35-year-old men are buying the toys. Yeah, not just men, but that's
you have different things for kids, right? It's why Star Wars has always had like cartoons and stuff like that, right? Like even the kids that grew up with the prequels now.
The whole point of the Star Wars, the reason Star Wars did so well is they obviously made toys, and it sold well to kids
and lunchboxes.
I don't know how old you are, but my generation, I was an '80s kid, so I grew up with Star Wars toys. But now that I'm an adult, I still have a bunch of Star Wars toys.
Yeah.
I'm still buying them. In fact, I just bought a Lego set that's right in here in this other room.
You are the biggest market because you do have that expendable income and stuff too. Yeah.
So Last Jedi, I felt like key point in the very beginning of the movie, you've got Poe Dameron flying in with his X-wing, and he tries to communicate to the Star Destroyer, and he's trying to talk to Hux, and he's like, "Yeah, Hux, are you there? What do you want? Excuse me, I can't hear you. Hello, is this working? Hello." I was like,
it's very slapstick,
very but very not to the point where MCU had good timing.
They
played it well.
Yeah,
it was like, this does not make sense.
Sure.
Or when you've got like a little droid or something, it was cool, kinda. Well, he's on like an STST or ATST. But it still didn't feel right, and then whatever.
So with Thor, incidentally, Thor is the one exception for me for that rule.
For which one? The comedy?
The comedy.
So Thor,
because in the comics, and I don't know why they decided to do it this way, because they did Drax the way I think they should have done Thor.
Drax is fucking funny.
Drax is funny.
So
you can be so funny doing that, and that was always Thor. And the comics even like write his stuff in Old English. He's super serious, super literal, and he's very aware that he's a god.
Yeah.
And so putting him in those stupid situations, it's actually closer to what they tried to do in the first two. The first two have other problems as a movie, right?
We talked about that.
But
in
that
the
style of like
episodes.
Oh yeah. So there you go, because like that's Thor. Yeah. Right, and so they made Thor kind of like Spider-Man, where he'll like do a one-liner quip or whatever, right? And it's just, I mean, I get why they do it, but then when I saw like how they did Drax, I'm like, why didn't you just do Thor that way?
Drax works. I don't know. Drax works so well though because of the deadpan delivery or whatever it's called. It's so good. So the next after that we watched Antman and Wasp. I talked about the last time I watched Antman, which I never saw it before, completely surprised me with how good it was. The main actor, have you seen Ant-Man or the Wasp? I can't name, Paul Rudd, I think maybe is the main actor.
Yes.
Really, really surprised me. Ant-Man and Wasp, again, very, very well done.
Yeah.
Very impressed with the whole thing. And I have seen Endgame. And there's parts of Ant-Man and Wasp that were brought up in Endgame that I was like, what is going on?
I hope they bring more Hank Pym into the MCU, actually.
So
he's super important in the comics and not as much in the, like, he meets Ultron.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not Iron Man.
Don't have a lot to say about the show. It was just a very good one. Especially with the next one that was coming up. We did get through, watched a lot of movies. Avengers Infinity War. Okay. So now I finally got to watch Infinity War. So I've seen Infinity War and Endgame without watching much of the previous stuff.
How did that work for you?
I really didn't care, to be honest. Like when people are
well, it's one of the benefits of the MCU is it pays off,
and so that's why I wanted to watch it through. Plus the very end screen of Infinity War where he is calling Captain Marvel. I had no idea what that frickin' command dial was, but obviously I knew because I've seen. Obviously, Captain Marvel is also the first movie I watched coming into this journey. She's the first timeline order.
An interesting entry point.
But I actually really enjoyed it. Very much enjoyed it. Anyways, Infinity War was so far beyond all the other movies in terms of quality production, interesting stories. The characters, even though you have so many characters on screen, they're so good. The Guardians of the Galaxy were blowing everyone away, though. The humor, who's the guy that was in Jurassic Park?
Chris Pratt.
When Chris Pratt meets Thor for the first time, I couldn't stop freaking laughing. When he's like, talking in a deep voice, why is your voice changed? It hasn't. I was like, this is so freaking funny. I couldn't stop it. So really, really impressed with Infinity War as a whole. I was very happy. Haven't gone to Endgame for the finalized of the show, but that was a great month in terms of the Marvel movies we've been watching.
Those are some of the biggest ones they've had, right? That you're literally at the prime of the MCU.
Yeah, and I've been here. So one of the conversations we had last episode was, do we watch the TV shows or do we just go straight to the movies? People are saying in the comments that I have to watch the TV shows to get some context clues for the movies. So if I'm wanting those contexts.
So one thing that changes, in my opinion, from what was before, like pre kind of Black Panther, like the phase 1, phase 2, earlier stuff, even phase 3, was it was interconnected, but in a way to where it just added to the experience. It wasn't necessarily required. And I think you're kind of at the point here, though it's enjoyable, but going into like Disney Plus series and stuff like that, where it's not just required, but it's like its purpose is to introduce you to the next thing.
And that's what people are kind of talking about. So you have to
watch WandaVision to even get where you're going.
And that what sucks is people are like, you're going to not enjoy WandaVision for 3 or 4 episodes, but that it's going to have a good tie-in. Same thing what I just heard about Miss Marvel. Yep. It's not very good, but it's got a great tie-in, and it's got a very good thing at the end. People are saying that the Black Knight, or what's his name?
Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm. Not very good, but you're going to need to know him. I've actually seen Eternals. I went with that with 2 of my friends from the board game group invited me. That movie was not very good, unfortunately. And which really kind of set me up and be like, man, is this next wave, is the next MCU timeline that they're going to present, is it going to be worth it? And that was kind of...
It's kind of unfair, right? Because you are this... I mean...
I'm in like the golden era.
Well, but it's not because... So, you know, they talk about phases. But if you think about it, this is a culmination of 4 phases. Yeah. This is, 10 years now of development leading up to
I feel like I was in high school when
now you pretty much set back to exactly. Now you're down to like square one again with the whole multiverse stuff like that. And so
but I feel like they've had so much to learn from.
Oh no, I agree, and they could have been setting up the next phase within.
Why was Eternals so bad when you've had so many years to figure it out? It was
not to tie this to board games.
Yeah,
but it's just a matter.
Is this a board game channel?
It's just. Only you can answer that, man. It's just a matter of time, right? If you produce enough stuff, eventually, it's kind of like, this is one thing I've said about even like some celebrities. You never know when a celebrity will say something bad. It's like, they've given like 8,000 interviews. If they say something stupid once, like that's actually a pretty good record, Or like, how many videos have you made out? Were all of your videos the best quality you've ever done? Yeah. You'll have a few duds in there, man. It's like.
Are you talking about my videos being bad? Well, what are you talking about? Are you saying I got bad? Hey, sometimes, Brian, we got some shitty videos. This is one of them.
Invite me onto them. Yeah.
God. So I don't want to spend too much time because I do want to talk about one thing that really... Did you watch Stranger Things, by the way, the new Stranger Things?
I have not watched the Stranger Things, by the way, because I am required to see it with my wife, and she is busy painting minis right now.
Well, that means the entire next section...
Go for it. Okay.
I'm not going to talk about it.
No. So
we'll save it.
Trust me when I say that I don't care if we run up that hill or anything like that. Like,
so
I haven't cared about spoilers since the internet became a thing, pretty much.
I've only watched 2 shows this month. Star Trek Discovery. I finished season 2, started season 3. Okay. It is awful. I am not enjoying myself, and I finally said after the 4th episode in season 3, why am I doing this? And I said, I have to stop. It's just not good. It's not fun.
You'd be like most YouTubers and watch it because you're going to trash it.
I'm not trying to. I love Star Trek, and I really want to see where they're taking it. In season 2, again, both seasons start off really slow, but then had a pretty good finale. And season 2 is that same way. And I'm like, okay, maybe season 3, but I feel like season 3 should be rolling now. We should be rolling. There's only 4 seasons. Yeah, we should be in it.
Well, it's kind of like it's a joke. The first season's bad, the second season it's good. But any kind of production crew and actors that are working together, you get better at it over time.
They can't. Right? They can't figure it out.
You would think
they can't. They don't know what they're doing. So I finally said, I'm done. and Stranger Things 4 had been out for like 2 weeks. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start watching Stranger Things. First time, I would say, since Squid Games, I've binged a show. Have you seen Squid Games?
So, no, I have not.
So Squid Games...
But I have seen all the death scenes, if that helps. I just watched the good parts.
I mean...
I think there's a story in there somewhere.
You watch Kill Count?
I have seen it before, yeah, which is always pretty entertaining.
From Dead Meat? Dead Meat?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Best show on the YouTube channel, by the far. Anyways, Stranger Things 4...
Besides that.
Squid... Yes, you could say that. My 6,000 subscribers. Thank you, by the way, for everyone who subscribes, as well as my Patreon members. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Shout out to everybody that may not be subscribed, but watched commercials.
And thank you to everyone who goes to his T-shirt place and buys a T-shirt.
Into the AM.
Into the AM. I skip it every time now. Your timestamps.
I do purposely put stamp. Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's the thing with that.
Am I a bad friend?
No, not at all. A quick beside. If somebody doesn't want to watch it, they're going to skip away anyway. Yeah. But if you don't give them a point to do it, they're going to like mess up, it becomes frustrating. And they're going to do it anyway. So just give them
at least I'm giving you it. Anyways, Stranger Things 4.
Yeah,
first bingeable show, Squid Games. Yeah. When I watched Squid Games for the first time, I watched.
Did that not put you in a weird headspace? It could be because I just watched people getting murdered all the time.
It was so good.
It put me in a weird space.
Such good drama. Okay. It was so good. And like I said, I watched it in an entire weekend, 2 days. So Stranger Things 4, little longer episodes. They're like hour and a half, almost 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours at points. So a little harder to binge, but I still watched it. It's also one of the reasons why I didn't have very many episodes this week, because I've been watching Stranger Things all week. Very much loved it. In fact, my wife and I were talking about if I were to tier rank all 3 or 4 seasons, it's hard because originally I would put the first season number 1, but I just rewatched the Dead Meat episode for it to get the recap on it. And I was like, am I holding season 1 at a level that's not deserving because it was like nostalgic, because it was the first?
Well, it was the first. You didn't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah, right? And so you're like, it was so good. It was the first one. So if I were to think about it, I actually think season 4 might be the best one for me.
Nice. And
then season 1, then season 3, then season 2.
Which one had Billy in it? Was it
Billy's
it was
in both season 2 and 3.
2 and 3?
But in 3 is when he's the villain.
Yeah, okay.
Season 2 is when Max and Billy get introduced.
That's
but
right. Okay.
And I learned this today, although I can't. I want to embarrass myself by not remembering his name. The guy with the really cool hair.
Yeah.
That was the bully in the first season, and then he became good for the final rest of the seasons.
Yes.
Can't remember his name for the life, man. My wife will get mad at me. He was originally supposed to be the bully through the entire first season, but the directors loved him so much that they changed his writing mid-season to give him a redemption arc, which then caused them to say, well, we still need our bully. So that's where Billy and Max came from, is they needed a new Billy to play his role. So I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was
worked out
cool.
really well. Yeah, it's one of those things because I've a few shows that I've actually like listened to like the commentary and stuff like that. Yeah. It's amazing how a lot of times I'll actually have trap characters, which are like, hey, if this person quits the show, this person takes over, kind of thing, right? But it's
I feel like Walking Dead was that way.
Oh yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. I mean, they did that all the time, and they had to. But you don't necessarily know that watching it, right? You just see the end result, but it almost always ends up better. Yeah. I think when a creative person has to overcome a struggle, I think it actually ends up better than if they just have a blank canvas and can do anything they want. In my opinion, I think stuff like budget constraints. I think stuff like not I was watching one on Babylon 5 from like back in the day, and there was like this one episode that's just like a side thing, but it's a really fun character one, and it turns out it's because the main characters they like got sick together, they like caught something, and so like they couldn't like get to make it, so they had to like get all the side characters in there and make an episode, and it ended up being one of the fan favorites because
one of the things
not even planned.
Talking about that with the very first season of Stranger Things, the very first episode they filmed and how they knew it was going to work was the D&D episode where the 4 boys are playing D&D together. Yeah. And because they kind of already hung out and they were already becoming friends, that's just perfect, felt like a natural show, and the people were like, this is going to be a hit. Yeah. Because they already knew the chemistry was going to be there.
Which is hard. We just talked about how season 1, sometimes you don't have that. Yeah. Right? I mean, you do... You have to get used to who you work with.
They also talked about how when they pitched this show to Netflix, it didn't even take 24 hours for Netflix to buy the whole thing. because they knew it was going to be that good.
Wow.
But
nice.
Anyways, I don't want to talk about the spoilers because you haven't seen it, and I don't know.
I don't care. It's
Dude,
up to
it's
you.
so freaking good. I will say, if anyone's here,
I'm
Eddie,
assuming the good guys win.
Eddie. Well, I did see a funny video that
Wow.
said how to tell you
this wins.
how does Stranger Things end and everything. It'll be 11 doing this. Ah! Ah!
Yep.
Ah!
Yep.
Ah! That you can literally know that is how Stranger Things is gonna end. Is some form of Elle doing this.
Doing that, yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, screaming in slow-mo.
Screaming and
Yeah.
and things going on. That's literally how every Stranger Things is gonna end.
Hopefully she's not punked out when she does it, though.
Dude, okay, so season 2 was awful. I think season 2 hit flat, and I think it's because they knew that they had a hit, and they didn't really. I don't know. It just didn't work.
I think they instantly adjusted their plans because originally wasn't even going to be this 5 seasons.
So they actually talked about that too, and which is interesting. So I was just going to bring this up. I felt like Stranger Things after watching it should have been like new seasons, but entirely new cast, almost like Black Mirror,
like new towns, almost.
New town,
Yeah.
new kids.
That would have been super cool.
Just completely different. You can keep the the upside down if you want to keep it within the same world.
Sure.
But just have it be, and you could even do different years, maybe 1995. And now we're having to see different kind of eras.
Okay. Yeah. Here's another thing, because people love their interconnectedness.
Yeah.
Right. Is have it to where you're building up kind of like an MCU kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of interconnectedness between them all. Right?
So that was what me and my wife, when we first saw it, I was like, please. My thought was, please don't do the original kids, because what's going to happen is they're going to grow too fast.
They already have,
and they did. Yeah. In season 4, they're supposed to be like freshmen in high school.
Yeah, they're already almost 30.
17 and 19. It's really bad. But
no, some of them, I can't think of his name either now that you mentioned it. But I
can't remember his name. But the good-looking guy.
He's like 25, 26 now at this point, I think. So.
Yeah, because they were supposed to be. They're like freshmen in college now. They're supposed to be 18 years old. They still work. I think it still works. Maybe because I'm so old now, everything beyond like 25 looks like a child.
Well, it's just like it's the same meme with actual teenagers. Yeah, it shows like this pimply face. Yeah, and so it's teenagers on Netflix. And it's like some Chad
the big
32.
The one that'll jar you the most is Mike. The main character he is like 17 or 19 now. He is gone through puberty. Mm-hmm. Dude grew like a stem, and he's just really tall and gangly. And you're like, man, it doesn't look right. But overall, really, really impressed with Stranger Things 4. I think they did really well.
I will remind my wife again.
So what's funny is me and my wife had to watch it separately because our 2-year-old, the content of Stranger Things is not appropriate for 2-year-olds. So we had to watch it.
I imagine it depends on your 2-year-old.
Dude.
I'm just saying.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. For your innocent 2-year-old, it's too much. Yes.
No, I just my 2-year-old actually came in when I was watching a recap on Dead Meat, and she saw the thing and she's like, scary, and I was like, the whole time, turn on YouTube, turn off.
I want you to sleep tonight.
So yeah, all right. So anyways, that's it. But let's talk about what I brought you in for. Not that any of this was not here. I brought you here. If anyone's watching me take notes, this is done. Now we're here.
Oh, okay.
And I want to talk.
This is part of the list I made.
Yeah, this is part of it was yours. I had some of this stuff that was already designed.
Yes. Yeah. You like prompted me with stuff. Yeah.
So I also just filmed the video yesterday. It'll go up on Monday. I don't know when this video will go up. Probably before this one. And my thing is titled. It's a very King of Average video. I think I said like this has to stop. So it must be
100% clickbait.
This must stop.
Super negative.
Actually, it's pretty.
This
it's pretty.
No, that's a good. No definition of this at all.
Hold on, let me look at it. Here it is. The biggest problem with the board gaming industry. This has to stop.
Love it. It's not quite like mine though, because that was only like 14 minutes. Add 30 minutes.
30. Well, you got to get that watch time in there. But it's talking about, and this is what's leading into our conversation. It's talking about the current atmosphere or the things that are happening within our industry that is really affecting mostly backers, but also our publishers. So like things with Darkest Dungeon coming out and saying, we need more money.
Yeah.
And the cascade effect that has within their company. But it's not just them. In my video, I didn't really, although I do name Mythic on a separate point, I don't name companies in general. I've had a beef with Mythic, and I will continue having a beef until they deliver me a game that's playable and in good condition, and it arrives at my doorstep. I don't even know if I'm going to get my 2 games. Hell and Rainbow Six, I don't even know if I'll ever see them. You know? And I've actually talked about...
You're not the only one.
Yeah, and I'm like, should I refund my Hell?
So their last update did say that over 50% of people have paid the Darkest Dungeon thing by now.
They have paid.
Over 50%.
So I did see their recent update on July 29th. I did not read it because I'm not a backer of Darkest Dungeon. But I just saw, we're sorry and thank you.
A lot in bold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like over and over again.
So my question was... And one of my key point of the video I released is about communication.
Okay.
Do you think it was the way Mythic communicated their error to the backers? Is that why they had such a bad...
So glad you said this. So I'm sure you watch all my videos.
I watch 10% of your videos.
Okay.
That's probably more than you watch of mine.
I probably... I don't know, how many videos do you make?
Not very many.
Then maybe. Okay. So actually, dude, I don't watch a lot of board game YouTube videos at all, actually. So, which is kind of funny. I just made a video. Look at all that. That's a good feed.
Oh, that's not you.
Yeah,
why is that on your thing?
I don't know.
Look at that. All the way through.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm doing this because you guys can't see it. I'm just showing, hey, I've watched videos.
He just needed to prove it to me.
I'm watching videos.
Okay, so I just mentioned like communication with a big push for this because I was going through and I was making my top 5 most at-risk companies. Right.
I saw that thumbnail.
Okay.
I think that you posted that today.
Yeah, it was like, well, I don't know. I didn't film it today, but either way, like, so I was doing that.
He's wearing his fucking mask.
Briefly, I hate wearing masks. It's so like I can't breathe. Anyway, and I hate like my breath.
Okay, so you made a video of top 5 companies.
So I was doing the research for this, right? And so I was going back trying to see like what were the telltale signs? Like what could I tell my viewers? Look for this.
Yeah.
And you know what I found? Nothing. Because
it's hard to identify.
Even the month before, there was no mention of any issue.
Yeah.
No mention of nothing.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, okay, well, they're obviously... I'm calling it plate spinning, right? Where like for like 7 months, 8 months, 10 months, for a year,
something's happening. They're not talking about it.
But they don't really talk. You know, it's like it's always the same. You know, it's close to production for 5 months, and then it's in production for 6 months.
I talk about that.
Yeah, it's a spin in plates.
Where is the actionable communication where you're actually going to tell us if things are happening? I said be more proactive. I want to see production companies tell us up front, hey, so we're running into some snags, and here are the things we're doing.
Which we're getting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I even found like an FTC thing where I'm like, where they sued a guy for miscommunicating, for essentially acting and saying things were good when they weren't. Yeah. Which is exactly what these companies are doing.
Yeah.
So
there was a company I backed a game that was based out of Italy, and it was I backed it in 2019.
What a great year to back
and
a
it
game.
it should have been delivered by like December 2019. Obviously, it didn't. Then COVID hit, and Italy died. Like it was, in that company went off. Like they stopped updating
and everything.
And so you're like, my
God, not lying to you then.
What's going on? I mean, at points you're like, is the guy okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, you're like, what is going on? And then, but when they would update, it would be random and sporadic, and it would be like everything's fine. We are moving along. We are working with our producers in China. We're like, we haven't heard from you for 6 months.
What the heck?
What's going on? And I just got a recent update. We're delivering in Europe. I'm like, you're delivering?
What?
Am I actually going to get this game? What is happening?
Out of nowhere.
3 years later.
That's some poor communication.
So I talked about that. I talked about that there's a lack of communication happening in our industry. And I think a lot of these companies, and my basic point was there's a lack of professionalism where a lot of these companies don't act like businesses. And you can see the differences between the companies that do, and I think that treat their customers right. I think like Ivy Studios is an incredible company because they actually do very good. They have very solid production timeline updates. They tell you where we're going to be at. Here's our timeline so you know what's happening. And then they also, beyond that, have QC and actual editors and things that test.
Well, and it shows in the funding level too, right?
They are doing very well for their current one. So let's talk about Darkest Dungeon. Let's actually break this down.
Yeah. So I mean,
because this is affecting how many people back that game?
Over 20,000 just in the Kickstarter. And I'm sure the pledge manager continued to rake them in.
I wish we could see those numbers. Sometimes I wish we could see how many people pledged.
Yeah,
it would be super nice.
I think one of them does that. Game on Board. One of them does it anyway.
The one I think I've only used it one like once or twice.
Yeah, it's not very often. Monolith uses it, so you can always see what they did.
So Darkest Dungeon affecting 20,000 people.
Yep.
Basically saying we need more money, which has been a common occurrence.
Yes, and update the month before, no mention and no issues.
So why is it companies like Shadowborn Games can do the same thing, yet their crowd, their audience is supportive, while another audience is not so supportive or backlashes?
Sure. So I think a lot of the reason is the why behind it, right? And also, again, how good you are at communicating.
Yeah.
So Oathsworn and Shadowborn Games, the developers of it, when they did an update, they did 2 separate videos where you saw how painful it was to even ask this question.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but Mythic Games actually reached out to me to give them feedback on their update before posting it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. They didn't follow any of it.
They didn't follow any of it?
Okay, so I guess you didn't know this. So I even made a video after giving that, assuming that they asked because they wanted to like follow it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I said was like, well, okay, first of all, you need to make a video. Like this text reads soullessly. It's like literally my words.
Have Leo do a video.
Yeah, because he's great at being passionate and stuff like that. So anyway, the video helped, right?
Yeah.
Of course, because they could actually express that. But then they actually provided some very good numbers, but talked about how they had exhausted other things already.
Everything that they're trying to do. So they're showing that they're being actionable about it.
They're getting, talking with their 3PL to reduce prices there.
Yeah.
Talking about that and how last minute it was.
Yeah.
This wasn't because, of other issues, right? And then Mythic Games, like, they're just not good at communicating. Like, for instance, they delivered Solomon Kane, they delivered Super Fantasy Brawl, they delivered JOA 1.5, all within the pandemic and never asked a dime for it.
Yeah.
And you would think that a company would almost play that up, like here's everything we're doing, we just can't do it, but they just don't say it well.
Yeah.
So part of it's just communication, but part of it is, this was the point I actually made in a video that isn't out yet. Well, actually, by the time this guy gets this thing out, it'll be out. But,
yeah, probably.
But I just talked about this, that like I want to see the sacrifice that the company did before they have backer sacrifice.
Yeah.
I guess because it felt like Mythic Games did
now,
this.
Mythic Games did
I need
say,
money, you're fired, right? And that's it. Like that's the effort that you put into this.
And they did say, I remember like we need 1.5 million. We're willing to pay half, but we need you to pay half.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, if you don't pay, you're not getting your games.
Yeah, it's all questionable, which is almost always the case. Nobody's asking. First of all, this is not a way to make some quick money.
Yeah,
it just isn't.
And I want to make sure. I want to have a caveat. Although I know there's going to be commenters that are not going to hear this because they've already commented, "F you, Bryan, you're the worst." You have
that's
no.
Fine. They can reply to
sympathy.
that with whatever.
But what I want you guys to understand. We know that there's cost increase. I feel like you have to put this disclaimer on every video. We understand the situation.
Mm-hmm.
All I want to see is a better way that the companies are relaying this information even ahead of time.
Yeah, so
because
that's why I mentioned Ludus Magnus Studio, and I'll get to that after a quick story if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Succubus Publishing, they did Madara.
Yeah.
Okay, so pretty much 2 guys that did that. So their first Kickstarter is this massive game that they are new to it. They don't really know what they're getting into. They soon find out what they're getting into. It costs way more than they raised. They cannot deliver Madara.
Yeah.
They don't have enough money. They didn't then just go, you got to pay $800,000. Sorry, backers.
Yeah.
Either pay or don't. They busted their butts working and putting that money towards it, talking to investors constantly. I actually have a few of their slides from that investor slide deck where they would talk about how, hey, if we deliver this, we can come out with a second Kickstarter and it does so much better and we gain trust on that. They busted their butts and worked hard for months and months and months until they could finally deliver it, instead of asking just for backers just to pay more.
And did they do 2 waves I think they're doing 3 waves.
So their first campaign was just Act 1.
Yeah, and that failed.
And well, it did, but because of all that, they didn't have enough money for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This was
I
their
was going to
first...
say, Madara's fulfilled. At least parts of it have.
So now they have, And so then they come out with that second campaign, and they're super well rewarded for it because everybody could see how much they cared, how much personal sacrifice they were willing to just hustle to get it done.
Do you think... so obviously
I think Shadowborn showed that as well.
So look at games like KDM.
Yeah.
I own that game. Mm-hmm. But all I hear about people talking about, and the reason I haven't bought more about it is like that you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
Is that because the guy who's making the game has no business sense of how to
make
the game?
It's the Star Citizen of board games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah. Well, a little bit. So 2 things. It's also like a free-to-play game. I don't know if you've ever played one of those, but where like it gets content starved because instead of making content, they're just making stuff to sell. Yeah. Right. So the guy's running a business, right? Poots is running a business, and his business right now isn't make this super expensive game that I undercharged years ago. It's making more pinup models for people to buy. Yep. And so that's what he does. And so
but
you see the output. But
does he deliver that stuff? Because the problem is,
he does that all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I keep hearing people saying there's a treasure chest or something that they're never going to get. A gambler's
chest. Yeah, I paid for it. Yeah, I'll get it someday.
I wish I knew more about it. I bought KDM. I haven't.
Yeah, there's a multitude of things there. First of all, focus, scope creep, and there's a lot of stuff there we can unpack. Ludus Madness Studio did exactly, I think, what you're talking about. So they actually just updated all of their campaigns with this kind of snippet. First of all, DEI just arrived at all the half the hubs, so that'll actually finally be delivering soon. That's another plate spinner, if you ask me. Plus another one of theirs, I forget which one.
You're talking about the game DI was a plate spinner, or they had updates that were plate spinners?
Updates for years and years that were just like nothing. It's like, you just don't want to deliver it right now. Because I think there's a lot of companies that just look at the price and they're like, I don't want to make it right now and ship. I'll just hold off. I'll just BS for a couple months and hope it goes away. And or we'll raise enough money elsewhere.
That is a big thing where I think a lot of companies are like, we're just going to kick the can down the road and hope that whatever situation
at some point we can afford it.
We're just going to. We'll talk about. It sucks. I want to say we'll talk about it later, but then we never do.
It is.
For example, you'll have like companies.
Go ahead.
You'll have companies that'll produce games. This is what really drives me up. There's companies who have actually produced games, then they store it because they don't want to pay the shipping fees.
Yeah.
With the hopes that the shipping.
Don't make it till you're ready to ship.
Then they're hoping that the shipping fees will come down. Mm-hmm. Then they weren't. So now they've spent $40,000 in storage fees.
Yep.
Instead of just paying the $40,000 for the shipping, getting us our games. Now they're going to have to figure out a way to make more money. I've seen that, and it's like, what's going on?
Worse is stuff like Blacklist Games, where they deliver it, they even ship it with freight to the hub, and they can't pay the hub,
which is currently happening with.
Right?
And what sucks is I've heard people say that I have not backed a Blacklist game, so I'm not part of that. I don't have an investment in that.
I have not either.
But people talk about that Blacklist was trying to put it on QLM to be like, hey, this QLM's not doing enough. And then QLM comes out with an update saying, hey... QML. We're working with them. It's like Quartermaster's Logistics.
Quartermaster Logistics.
Yeah, they're like, we're working with them, but there's also a lot of contractual issues going on here.
Yeah. Well, they haven't paid. They haven't paid.
Yeah, them. And we're like, we have people we need to pay to do this job.
Yeah. Blacklist Games is screwed.
Yeah.
Because here's their avenues, right? They could sell in the web store, except they can't because guess who holds their games from the web store?
Yeah, they talk about that.
So they can't sell any games.
I actually felt bad for them in their update. They tried to do a
GoFundMe. Their GoFundMe got pulled. Down. They are.
I read that update and I was like, I actually do feel for them because they have zero way to earn money. To
really get money, yeah.
Like other than liquidating their IPs to come up with some funding.
STLs maybe.
You're in a real bad spot.
Good luck with that. Yeah. And that's the problem is normally when a company fails, future customers don't get their stuff because of this delay. When Kickstarter companies fail,
which is actually going to go into another video that I'm talking about, which is stop backing games, which sucks because it's my whole industry, But we'll talk about that when I post that video.
Sure.
I want to finish though with the Darkest Dungeon. Do you think you're going to see a cascading effect within their backlist of games with Hell, Rainbow Six, Anasteer? There's one more, I can't remember, like Monster
Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm. They have 4 games that are beyond 5 games if you count Darkest Dungeon that are being produced. Mm-hmm. And they're out of money.
Did the Necromancer one get sent out yet? They might have another.
When I was looking, there might be one more. When I was looking at their thing, I was like, okay, these are all games I know. I was like, okay, this is delivered. This is delivered. Okay, so everything beyond this. Are we seeing a situation now where these games are in jeopardy? And if people start requesting refunds, is it going to cost a snowball effect, which is going to just ruin? Is Mythic Games in jeopardy of collapse?
Yeah, and ironically, we talked about communication at the beginning. This reaction is exactly why they're afraid to communicate, right? Because the moment you say something like,
you show a
we're
crack
weakness,
in the armor,
then everybody jumps ship,
Yep.
and which it then causes, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's like, hey, we're struggling, so everybody's like, okay, then I'm out, and then they're really suffering.
It's very much like a dam effect, where if you have a single crack in a dam, it can easily
That being said, this
break.
is actually nothing that they actually don't already have to deal with. The problem with these games that last so long is that invariably there's backers. Let's say 10,000 people backed your game, and it's taking you 3.5 years to deliver it. And within that 3.5 years, someone's going to be like, crap, I could really use some extra money right now. My car broke down. I want to back this other game, whatever. And they're going to look through their list and be like, oh, my hype for that's dead. I don't even know. And then ask for a refund. So
for example, Hell.
Exactly. So as the long games like this, they get refunds all the time on this stuff. All the time.
So Hell is the first one on that list that I'm generally considering refunding. One, I don't think the game is anywhere the same game that was sold on Kickstarter because I didn't have a game.
I don't think it was a game sold.
There
on
was no
Kickstarter.
game. They're like, this is our idea, and I feel like they've been in development.
That also ties to LMS again. We'll get to it. Yeah.
Anastair I didn't back, but that's because I after Rainbow Six, I said I'm never backing another.
You're
Mythic
lucky.
games.
I'm about $1,000 into Mythic Games right now.
Oh man,
They make great. I love their games.
Do you?
I really
which
do.
one?
What do you mean?
I'll say name one. Well, I will say the only Mythic games.
The problem is I've played games but Rainbow Six
because
is great. Solomon Kane, fantastic.
So Solomon Kane was actually just on a killer sale. Was on a killer sale all in for $320.
You should have gotten it.
So one of my friends in the player group got it, and I
Nice.
thought, is this a game I need? Probably not.
It is the only game I would probably solo.
Really? I'm not a big solo player. I keep telling myself
I'm not either.
solo. I'm just
It's
not
the
a
only
solo
game
player.
I have.
So let's talk about LMS because you were talking about that.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, like, will that cascade?
Yeah.
There?
Do you think?
Yes.
Do you think? Okay. Before we go to LMS, do you think at one point I thought Mythic Games was like Awakened Realms or CMON, too big to fail? I thought they were, and I think maybe Mythic Games thought they were part of that tier of companies.
Yeah, well, their best year was 2020.
Yeah,
with Darkest Dungeon and stuff.
So
they were high on.
Is
on
there
everything.
a possibility you could see Darkest Dungeon in a blacklist game situation, where they're just
Wave 2? Yes. Wave 1, it's already made. It's going to get sent out.
Yeah.
But at some point you need to start cannibalizing future stuff for current stuff or something, right? I don't know what the path forward is to that. Just because they have so much built in. Like Monolith had a similar issue with Beyond the Monolith. I don't know if you remember that failure.
I remember it, yeah.
So they did that, and it almost took them out. But luckily, they weren't out by a whole bunch of games like this.
Yeah.
And they just had too many people, so they let go of a lot of people, went to a skeleton crew. It said, okay, we're just going to reprint something popular. So they reprinted Conan, which did very well because people liked it.
Do you know what Funforge? They did Monumental.
Yeah.
And they did another one prior to that.
The Nakini or something
like that.
Yeah.
I didn't back that one, but I did back
Namiji.
I did back Monumental all in. And Funforge came out and said,
No, we're done with this junk.
well, first off, they said, we have no money.
Yeah.
And we are going to be shipping games out in order. First, it's going to be the Naomi, whatever that Kickstarter was, then Monumental.
Yeah.
But we also don't really have a way to make money. So we're going to do what we can to make money.
Yeah, and they like allude to like a business deal that they're talking about. They won't tell you anything about it or something.
Very shady shit.
Yeah.
And then they said, we're also done with Kickstarter.
Yep.
We promise we're never doing this again. Like, okay, great. I wonder, I don't know if I want to say this, but I wonder how much they invested in the Far Cry IP that failed.
That's one thing I point out is that all of these are just like one. In other words, how many companies are one failure away from shuttering?
One failure
away. Anastair was the same thing.
Yeah.
They were. It made over $1 million, but for
Mythic
Games,
more.
I was like nothing,
Yeah.
right? So they had underperformed.
Yeah.
And so same thing. Like they just get that one failure and then it just bombs.
Far Cry was a game that canceled within a day or two.
Yeah, well, because it looked like garbage.
It didn't seem like bad gameplay, but it was like, is this Far Cry?
No.
And how much did you pay for the IP?
To then not use Ubisoft? In my opinion.
Yeah, and I thought, did you use backer money?
Of course.
To buy this IP, and now you can't even deliver your freaking game, and you're still sitting here on an IP that you paid for, and you can't even produce that game either.
Yeah.
Real in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Fun Forge is in a real bad spot.
Sucks. And this should, I mean, it shouldn't even have to be said, but it's good to clarify that, like, that affects real people.
Yeah.
Like, that's a crappy situation. Somebody now has to deal with, like, another career change kind of thing, right? I mean,
I would say, you know what the hardest thing about this discussion is that we know a lot of these publishers. We talk to them. Like, you know Leo.
Yeah.
I know Jamie over at Shadowborn. And so talking openly about some of these companies and some of the failures they've done is very difficult. But I also think it's our viewers need to be aware about what our opinions are and what's going on.
Yeah, I actually started talking about this a little bit because I think a lot of people don't understand. But I think a lot of the companies do. Like, Leo didn't at first. He thought I was just like, he called me an edgelord. Yeah. Well, the first thing he saw was a meme I had made of a car crash, and I put Mythic Games on the car.
Yeah.
So, like, that was his introduction to me, and and that was like old style me. But talking, you know, he kind of understood, I guess, my role, and that's like, I can talk with these guys, right?
Yeah.
And I can understand that a little bit of being a bridge between maybe consumers and companies.
Yeah.
Right. A little bit of a go between there, but at the end of the day, there's clearly defined roles that aren't crossed there, right? So, and I think a lot of them understand that.
Was there anything else that you want to talk about here, or are we done?
LMS.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we've talked about LMS, and I keep tangenting.
That's okay. That's all right.
So LMS.
Okay, yeah. So Ludus Magnus Studio made an update. First of all, reassuring people, which is what we're seeing. So there's not only a cascade from Darkest Dungeon within Mythic Games, there is a cascade from this slew of asks and, you know, Dia Games failing and all these other companies, right?
Yeah.
Where other companies are quickly, like, reassuring and starting to communicate more.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, Mythic Games, Monolith Mythic Games from there, or Fred from Monolith made an update saying, "Hey guys, don't worry, we won't charge you more for shipping." And a ton of companies are coming out saying that, like, reassuring, "Don't worry, guys, we're not going to charge."
Until they do.
Until they
Exactly. Just get me the freaking game.
Exactly. Well,
so Ludus basically said that.
Well, they said a little bit more than that.
Okay.
What they essentially said is, like, first of all, hey, this shipping sucks, right? I mean, I think everybody understands that. Their first point is that they are no longer going to be a Kickstarter only company. They said it's not viable to essentially put all their eggs in one basket.
I agree with that.
I agree too. I mean, as a YouTuber, right? You understand that, right? You don't just rely on AdSense.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
the $4. I don't think people know. $4.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's garbage.
It's like,
it's
your top performing video. You made $3.20.
So seriously, that guy that watched the ad, thank you.
Seriously,
thank you.
Turn off ad block.
No,
or
do that.
Actually,
that means more than a subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, turn off ad block, and he will love you to the end of the earth.
You know what I don't get is why YouTube Premium. If you're a YouTube viewer, YouTube Premium is like, I've had it since 2017, 2016.
Yep. Same.
Absurd value.
Oh yeah.
And YouTubers get more value from a YouTube Premium view. Yes. And then Quackalope said if you download, it instantly
supports anybody you watch.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder, why would you join why would you pay to join a YouTube channel, unlike Twitch, where you're subscribing to get ads?
The YouTube Patreon version.
Yeah. Like, I was like, I don't get it, because I'd rather just have premium and then have 0 ads on any video I ever watch, and I can download and I can watch them with the video screen closed.
Or you could do both and just send him a personal check. But
I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, we're talking about putting all your eggs in one basket, right? So they're like, first of all, this isn't going to happen anymore. We're definitely going to be, working on that.
So this is actually interesting that you brought this up, because I just talked about that with my player group who was here before you came over. We basically had this, like, they asked me, what are you guys talking about? So we talked about it. And we talked about the idea of a Kickstarter only funded company, and the fact that they can have a hard time managing their funds because they're getting $1 million. And they're like, oh, we got a lot of money, so let's go and hire this guy. He's going to be our coffee runner. We're going to be doing a lot of meetings. Let's go and pay a lot of people. because you have this money, and then you start production.
Yeah, let's buy a new office.
Yeah, we're gonna get our office because you know what? We're a successful company,
and you're gonna deliver in a year. So
yeah, we're good. And then all of a sudden, you start production, and Panda comes out and says, "We need $900,000."
Yeah,
and you're like, "Holy shit!" Right? And so these companies that don't have other forms of income,
it's just hard to run a company when you sell one product every 3 years.
One of the reasons why I think CMON is so successful is they produce the Kickstarter, they get a big swath of people, but even the same game they can then turn to retail and distributors picking that up and selling them because they know it's still going to sell, so they're still continually getting a drip of income throughout their period. They're not 100% reliant upon the Kickstarter industry, although the Kickstarter is great because it gives them a purchase order.
Yeah, it shows gauges customer interest.
Yeah,
so that you could go to retail at a positive,
and you could even
you
can take that to distributors and say this, like Mythic Games could do this. I don't know if they said that Darkest Dungeon was Kickstarter exclusive. I can't remember. They might have.
They haven't done all of that, but they've struggled to make, besides SFB, they've struggled to do retail because they make these gigantic games.
They make too big a games.
Redevelop.
Yeah,
to make retail.
You take that and you say this has 20,000 people who back this alone on Kickstarter. There's enough interest. I think your store can, you could sell this. But I do agree that you need to start making games that are sellable because for retail stores, shelf space is important.
Yeah,
and they can't do
and throughput. If you have a
that Mythic, that Joan of Arc, that can't be sold in retail.
3 game spaces there.
It's too big.
Yeah, it's 3 game spaces there, and it's super expensive, which means you don't sell it as often. So the throughput isn't as much. So in the 5 other copies you have to store, take up your warehouse.
And that's why CMON will do a lot of Kickstarter exclusive expansions because they're like, we can't sell this in retail anyways. It's too much crap.
Yeah,
so you got the core game and you got 2 expansions.
And that's also an issue Mythic Games has too, is too many SKUs. It adds
too many
so
SKUs
much more
is
to
so
the
bad.
cost.
Yeah,
so much
100%.
more. Yep.
So that was it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So the only other thing that they said
retail. You're getting your games,
and they're going to launch their campaigns closer to actually being done with it. What they're going to do is they're going to engage, but they still want to work with backers. That's what
should be done.
So they're going to engage with their followers prior to the campaign to help design it, then launch the campaign and deliver. So there's not a big lag.
So I think that should be done
I love
anyways.
Seeing that.
Yeah,
that's made me
surprising
super confident in them.
Because I actually am very hard on LMS.
Yeah, same.
Which is interesting. So that's good. I think that Kickstarter companies, when they come to Kickstarter, should have a mostly finished game. So there's one that's driving me nuts, Atlantis Rising.
Yeah.
I bought the expansion in 2020. Why is that not here? It's an expansion.
Spinning plates. Again, they might be done with it. They just don't want to ship it.
I don't know what's going on.
I think a lot of companies have done that. I think that's what these big delays are. I think a lot of them are just, they're done, but they don't want to put a purchase order in.
The other thing I want to talk about when I was talking about professionalism, not talking about this, was talking about the after effects, which drives me more nuts than anything, is I get my game and you send me an update after a month or two and you say, hey,
there's a new version.
Sorry that the rule book had a lot of misspelling. Sorry that there was...
Sorry it wasn't all in English.
Sorry the clarity of the rules didn't make sense. Sorry that the mechanics don't work and that the game's broken. Sorry that the printing isn't good. We'll do a second edition or a 1.5 and you guys will just have to pay for the upgrade kit.
Yep.
And it's like, I hate doing this. Like Stars of Icarus, I got that email from. Gray Fox Games, Tatsuki Yumi.
Did you see the update from Star of Icarus though?
Which one? What
do you mean?
What was the update?
Oh, the update literally was like, hey, here's our
here's
our problem points.
Yes,
here's our solutions.
Yes, okay.
I actually appreciated that.
So that was good, but it's still like, why wasn't this done up front? Yeah. So yes, I did appreciate that they're like, and I've seen other people do the same thing. Here's what we learned. Here's what we're going to do for the future.
Yeah.
I'm glad because I think Brendan, I think he also got a lot of money and kind of like figured it out as he went along.
Yeah.
But like hiring an editor, hiring a quality control
what
person,
they said they would do. Yep.
That should have been done up front.
Agreed.
Mythic Games has the same problem where they don't have a rule book editor. And it's like, guys, you're trying to be a big company. You got to act like one.
Dude,
you got to get these core things.
I was making a lot of inroads there. So, I actually started meeting with Leo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
To really tell him like some of our concerns and stuff. And I remember once I got in an argument with their I'm not even gonna like name like super names here, but one of their like community helpers on the Discord that argued with me because I asked for an index.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's expensive. It's this. It's that. That actually birthed.
Hold on. Keep talking.
Okay, so fun story, guys. That actually birthed my Make Games Not Campaigns thing. It was actually based off that because here was a developer that will spend all the time in the world to make fancy campaigns, make these beautiful images and renders of their minis and this and that, but asking for an index and they're
Did you come up with Make Games Not Campaigns? Because I think I've said that a few times, and I'm going to take credit for it.
That's fine. You can do whatever you want, but that was how I invented it in my head anyway.
To be honest, it's very true because you have companies who do incredible campaigns. I talk about this too.
That's their product.
They sell the campaign and then they just go away.
Yeah, just or shotgun the game out, and it has all these problems.
Yep.
Because they don't, where's all the, like they'll have such professional looking campaigns.
Yeah.
Nothing's misspelled. Everything's in English, right? All that.
Yep.
And you get a rule book where they left the editor notes in there.
Yep.
That was Ludus Mana Studio actually was Blacklist Games or with Reichbusters where it's not even all translated. It's like, you guys didn't even look at this.
And
that's, care about
I
your
just
game?
had an update. I think it was Tasuka Yumi said, and it sucks because they're like, we're going to, same thing as Stars of Icarus did. We're going to fix this. But it was like, hey, so sorry the rule book had issues. When we bought the rights to the game and we sent the rule book to them for okay, they thought we were okaying, and they're like, yeah, it looks good. So you have two people like, yeah, it looks good. Okay, it looks good. With neither person reading it. Yeah. And then they sent the rule book that's like got errors.
Yeah. If I was the CEO of any, or in charge, a founder, whatever, of any board game company, I would literally sit there and read the rule book. It'll take you maybe 2 hours of Monday or something.
Send the game to outside playtesters.
Yeah. But either way, I would want to personally verify.
Okay, I get it.
Because
well, you should, because it's top down at that point.
Yeah. And you would see something glaring like, hey, we forgot to translate this entire section of the thing.
That's the hardest part when you have like clear sections that are like like what is going on here.
You obviously didn't even look at this junk.
Yeah, there was another one that really drove me nuts, but I don't think I can remember it off the top of my head. But just stuff like that. Just the quality control. I even showed you my Mythic Games with Joan of Arc, the different text, the quality of the prints, what is going on.
The color, that was hard. So, and that's, that is hard to get, but you can notice it ahead of time. Yeah. It's really hard to repeat in any 2 print runs, right? You'll even get Magic the Gathering sets where if you hold them side by side, you're like, oh, that's not quite.
But they're very good. Wizards figured it out.
It is. Yeah, because you can check.
Before my video decides that we're done recording, that's what I was checking, by the way. I want to make sure we're still recording, which we are, but because I have all these cables sticking out, I can't flip it around.
Yeah, sure.
I want to talk about the Simon Dune.
Yeah.
Because I actually just did a video on, I was like, oh, I'm super excited about this, but I have no clue. There's nothing out here about it. The next day, you're coming out with a video and you're like, here's a bunch of shit we know about it. I'm like, how the hell does he know all this shit?
Because, and this bothers me, right? So a lot of companies don't do outreach really well. And part of it's because we don't really have a media presence in board games.
It's bad.
Right? There's no like CNN where like you can just send it to the press.
Wait,
the press
you're not CNN?
I am not.
He's Fox News.
I'm probably closer to that than when it comes to some ridiculousness. But I don't know. Pick your poison on media.
But I will say that there is a direct attempt right now from the Gamma Association to have a media outreach portion of it to try to bring manufacturers and publishers to be more, hey, your media is important.
Yeah. Because it's media in general, right? Like you could count on one hand the amount of anybody with a significant platform that actually critiques the industry.
Yeah,
like we could treat games, but not the industry, right? Like that's still fairly new ground, and we're still getting used to that, and whatever. So that's fine. But it's hard to get the word out. But how many games do you see somebody else cover that you're like, unless you follow their Facebook page, that you don't know exists? How are you supposed to find this game?
To be honest with you, that is actually
one. Command had a YouTube and a Facebook video.
Is that
if
where
you
you
watch
got
that, that's how you got it. Yep.
So there was a period on my channel where I would do like, here are the 6 games I'm most looking forward to at the end of the year. trying to find
games,
information on those games was so much work. I'm like, dude, I am making myself sick trying to find games.
That's how I started this channel so it was with hate.
Yeah.
And it was a hate details video. It was my first video that ever hit 1,000 views.
That's huge. I consider a video. I told you this. If a video hits 1,000, it's a successful video.
Yeah. So imagine me like just painting minis and something like this. Yeah. But the reason I did it is because I couldn't find any information of that. Because even if somebody was talking about it, they were talking about the theme.
That's
about
why
how
I started my
inappropriate
channel
it was
as well.
Or whatever. So yeah, same kind of thing. Yeah. So then I start I'm doing all this effort, reading all this stuff, and I'm like, well, if I'm having to do this, it might be helpful for somebody else to hear it.
Yeah.
So then I started actually making these details videos.
Yep.
And then I did one with Nemesis and stuff like that. Like, because, it takes a lot of work. It's hard. But anyway, so it has a lot of info. Would you want to talk about it?
So Dune, first off, Simon, I'm not really, I don't know, is this going to put people in a bad mood? I wasn't like
if they're not
that,
already.
Well, I wasn't that upset at Simon for the shipping stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people went like hard. Mm-hmm. And I do think there was parts of their shipping shit that was like absurd, like how much they were charging.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am not going to blacklist Simon games.
I don't blacklist any company typically because at the end of the day, I want product.
Even when Cyberpunk came out, I was considering Cyberpunk. Like, if the game was interesting enough for me to back, I would have backed it. It wasn't. Yeah. Didn't back it, which I'm glad because I gotta stop backing Simon games. When you talked about Dune, I was like, you got the guys from War of the Ring coming in here. That's one of my top games. I've talked about that's in my top 10.
Two of them, actually. Two of the three designers are doing it.
Top 10 games. And you're coming in here with now Simon level production value. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There could be
tiny minis.
Yeah, they're like this big, right? They're like not super
tiny. They're going to be about Bloodborne size.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, they're going to be about 20.
Because War of the Ring has tiny minis.
Yeah, it'd be bigger than War of the Ring ones.
Yeah. Yep. And I'm like, I'm invested enough that I'd be super excited about it. Mm-hmm. I'm really wanting to see what they can come up with. Although it does mean that Rebellion most likely will be cut from my collection if I were to get another game. The Rebellion's really good, but it's really long.
Yeah, it's a long 2-player game.
And like War of the Ring is long, but it's hard because I'm such a big Star Wars fan. But War of the Ring, I don't know, they're so good. They're both really good. Hard. And that's why they're both on my list.
So one comment. So first of all, I think that's great. I think it's really good. The one problem is I wish they would have announced it sooner because at this point I am so sick and tired
of Dune games.
No, of IP games that are just dudes on a map game.
Yeah.
Because it is such the easiest thing to plaster a thing on. In this case, they're taking an existing system, modifying it for Dune, and calling it good, right? Yeah. But I mean, Cyberpunk. Just a map. Skyrim, it's just a map. RuneScape, it's just a map. Name me an IP game recently that wasn't just a map with an overview map with minis on it.
That's an IP.
Yeah. It's the go-to thing now.
I mean, name a board game that's not a map. I mean,
you know what I mean by that. Like a generic map with giant minis that aren't to scale. It's not a dungeon crawl. I move from territory to territory, or I place things in different areas.
Small World of Warcraft. That's dudes on a map, just no minis.
Yeah.
Man, you really got me looking around.
Well, but do you get what I'm saying? Like it's like I said, Skyrim was that way. RuneScape was that way. Cyberpunk was that way. Dune is going to be that way.
Company Heroes.
Oh, no, Company Heroes is a skirmish
dude
game.
on a map.
No, but you
that's what I'm saying. They're all dudes on a map.
No, but that's to scale. And do you get what I'm saying? A dudes on a map style game, area control style game, that sort of thing.
I just broke my fucking favorite pen.
You're really going at it. I didn't mean to upset you. I'm sorry.
Bloodborne, is that dudes on a map?
No.
That's an IP game.
Yep, that one counts.
God, you made me look through my entire freaking collection. What about Forbidden Stars?
What about Forbidden Stars?
That's an IP. Is that dudes on a map? That is dudes on a map.
Yeah, I think that's more than like Bloodborne or something like that. Yeah. I'm just sick and tired of these abstract boards with minis on them painted in IP. Like I can't get that excited anymore.
I'm still down with them
because I didn't buy RuneScape for it. Oh, I can move my guy from location to
RuneScape
location and draw an event card.
Okay, no.
Skyrim, same thing. I can move my guy from
was
location
the
to location.
worst looking.
It was the ugliest
game,
but it's the same thing as Skyrim.
But it had no board. It was like the weirdest looking board.
It's all abstract. It's a city to city.
So abstract.
Which is exactly what Skyrim is. A city to city, and you draw an event card, and you do
the
this abstract thing.
It's all. I didn't back that one.
Yeah,
I did not back that one.
It's just a map.
Well, would you say the same thing with Witcher?
Yeah.
Because that's the same thing.
It does have that card gameplay though, which is different, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's just a map where you move from area to area.
Okay, I don't mind
an event card.
I don't mind the Witcher map because it felt like the world that you're in.
Sure, and again, the card gameplay is really cool. Yeah. In depth, the card gameplay saves it, in my opinion.
So, are we talking about abstract boards here? Is the Dune map abstract because it's just a big desert?
No, I mean, because it's abstract because you're not like your position is just a generalized location, a spot on the map, almost like a worker placement kind of thing.
Dude, this is the game that's been like that way since like 1980 or when was Risk invented?
I know,
Risk.
But there was always a joke with dungeon crawls, especially with Kickstarter, where people would say, "Let me guess, I get 3 actions," because it was always just. Oh, look at this dungeon crawl. You go from room to room and fight enemies. You have 3 actions. One is to move, one is to attack, one is to special abilities.
Do I get to loot gear?
And so eventually you just get kind of tired of it. It's like, oh, another dungeon crawl?
Yeah.
Let me guess.
I mean,
get 3 actions.
That's board gaming.
That's where I'm at right now. It's like, oh, let me guess.
Are you burning out?
For IP-based abstract map games, yes. 100% I'm burnt out. I don't care.
Do you like dudes at map games?
Yeah. I even like worker placement games. Like even Dune Imperium. That we played. I enjoyed that.
That was a game to prove to see if Michael actually plays board games.
Yeah.
Because I wholeheartedly believe he doesn't play board games at times.
I don't play as many as I wish.
I think he talks about board games more than plays.
Well,
board
I also
games.
like build minis a lot.
Yeah, I don't do that. Do you want to paint my minis?
No, I can't paint my minis. I might build your minis though. I don't know. No, actually, so I did commission job once, and I learned that
my pen doesn't even click now because I broke. Because there's a thing here. Dude, this was my favorite pen. I've had this pen for years.
That looks like the cheapest pen that you found.
I know, but I did find it in a training course for work, as you can see here.
Oh,
but
fancy,
dude!
It doesn't even have one of those annoying stylus bungee butts.
I am so mad.
It's fitting for this video.
This is a good video. I enjoyed this video.
I just like our talks.
Do you drink?
What?
Do you drink alcoholic beverages?
No. It's expensive and tastes bad.
What if it does taste awful. Alcohol tastes so bad. But it gets you in a place that sometimes can be fun.
There's been enough extended family issues with the substance that we just don't keep it in the house.
And then I will not pressure you to do it.
I wouldn't feel pressured. I don't know if you noticed, but I don't care what most people think.
I actually don't drink much alcohol, but we do drink it on occasion.
Why are you randomly asking me this?
Because I was like, we should get a drink.
Yeah, I could get a drink. I'll grab a soda. They normally have root beer or something. Well, it depends on what kind of alcohol.
Now you guys know what time we're filming this at. It's 2 a.m.
No, I speak to that sometimes because I apologize.
I do want to finalize one final thing before this video is a year long. Oathsworn.
Yes.
Finally being delivered.
Yes.
That game was what brought me back to Kickstarter. And it has been my most anticipated game for a very long time. And I still don't have it. I'm very salty about it.
I'm just letting you talk.
And, but you have it. Mm-hmm. I want to hear, have you played it? What are your thoughts? Is this game of the year?
I mean, I think it's game of the year until Aeon Trespass Odyssey delivers, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a great thought. Do you think Aeon Odyssey is going to uproot it?
For me, and I've said this for years now, Aeon Trespass Odyssey has been my favorite game.
That you've played?
Mm-hmm.
And one of my members in my Discord...
But Oathsworn is top 5. I mean, it's fantastic.
One of the members of my Discord is a playtester for Into the Unknown.
Yep.
And he has talked about how Aeon Odyssey is... like one of the best. He also play tested Oathsworn though.
I play tested both as well.
And he's like, both games are incredible.
They are really good.
He also said the same thing about the Elden Ring board game that.
I'm sorry, what?
It's the Elden Ring
what? An Elden Ring board game?
They're gonna make me pull up my.
Dropping exclusives. Here.
It's not an actual Elden Ring. It's the Elden Ring like game.
Like Tainted Grail?
No, this one.
Oh. It's more Dark Souls than Elden Ring.
That's Elden.
Kingdoms
What is that? Dark Souls is Elden Ring.
No, Dark Souls is a little bit more silly.
You think this is more silly? I guess
got an egg knight.
You're right.
It's got a guy that's made of yolk.
You're right. It is kind of more Dark Souls. Same thing.
But anyway, yeah. Okay.
He also said that could be a contender to beat those two games from what he's played.
I'd put Aeon Trespassasi over it.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I am so jealous of people who have Oathsworn.
Only because of how the story plays out. And because...
But you don't know how the story plays out. You haven't played the story of Oathsworn.
So I have played more of the story of both of those than Kingdoms Forlorn. Kingdoms Forlorn was... Okay, so Aeon Trespassasi Odyssey, I don't know if you remember this or not, but they eventually sold it as a prelude. Yeah. But because they didn't want to put any spoilers, they made an entire campaign. It's the largest prototype I've ever received gameplay-wise. It's massive.
Yeah.
And I played the whole freaking thing twice because it was fantastic. I wanted to see where but it has the Metroidvania map, which is super cool.
Yeah.
The like permanent guy chasing you on the map, kind of Nemesis style from Resident Evil, which is super cool.
Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, exactly. So
I love that we have references to things and we get them.
Oh yeah. Well, we're nerdy.
Yeah.
So they have that. I mean, it's not Yelling Stars, but it's mainly the same kind of thing. So that's super cool. But I mean, it does a lot of things really, really well. But it's a traditional way of telling a story. Kingdoms Forlorn has a lot of those same cool things, but it's a very episodic way of telling a story. So it's not the same way that you normally, I guess, would think of a game. And it's why I think it kind of struggled to even convey that. Like it plays more almost kind of like a Black Mirror thing, where like you're getting... It's very much kind of like Dark Souls, right? You're getting snippets of story that you kind of have to piece together, and then you'll get to a part that's like, oh, this is obviously story, okay. Yeah. And then it's back to piecemeal. So it's a little bit... It's a more unique flavor.
Kingdoms Forlorn.
Kingdoms Forlorn is a more unique flavor, that more acquired taste.
Did you back it?
I guess you would say yes.
I backed it, and originally was only going to get one chapter. And then when the pledge manager came out, I was like, can you do just one freaking chapter?
No.
And so I backed it all, knowing full well I'm never gonna play that freaking game.
I'm not either, but it's a business expense. I needed the tax write-off. Right. I really just wanted the minis. I still want my Swan Dragon.
Did they not get it?
No, they like showed it in like videos and a few images, but we never unlocked it. So they said like we'll see it sometime. I don't know. Give me my Swan Dragon.
You're right. You know, they sent me the prototype, but I haven't played it yet.
I'm going to get the Toad Dragon. That's pretty sweet. What do you mean? What prototype? The Kingdoms Forlorn?
Yeah, it's right there next to Age of Rome.
Why have you not played it? You get to have a monkey jump on bad guys.
So I want to play it. I haven't had 4 players to play it with. And then one of my friends was the guy that play tested it. Was like, oh, I'll teach you how to play it. I haven't really talked to him on Discord, like voice talking with him. And so I've been like, all right, well, when that happens, I'll break it out. And now it's like been 2 months. I'm like, shit, I need to play
that was my
game.
favorite thing was actually how so Aeon Trespassasi, just like most other boss battlers, and this is one of the issues.
I really wish I had my pen.
I
want to take notes.
Use your phone. Use your phone.
I know, it's fine.
Okay. Like with Kingdoms Forlorn and Kingdom Death Monster and Poots taking so long to iterate on his game, is now other people like Oathsworn have now iterated on the boss battle genre.
And what's great is that they have taken the time to actually like really make a good game.
Yeah. So Kingdoms Forlorn, that one of the things that does different is you have the like body part cards, right, that you are used to in a boss battler, but instead those represent like a mob enemy.
Yeah.
And so you're interacting with these body parts and attacking them, but they're a mob. So it's a nice way to kind of make that not be a boss battle. So it has non-boss battles, which is kind of interesting. Yep. But you can have like they have like a Sir Lancelot guy with like a Sir Monkey kind of, I forget their names right now.
Yeah, and I hate the characters.
Oh, dude, but when you play him, like the moment
I bet they're eccentric. All the characters are very weird.
Very weird. Yeah.
Yeah, very eccentric, very weird.
It's
which is funny because me, like, I am so classic. Like, I just want to play a freaking paladin knight, most boring character.
Necromancer, please, thank you.
You know, just give me my vanilla.
You just want a whirlwind to win.
Like, literally, that's why the guy is like, this is me, like, just most boring guy.
Yes, yes, I love it. No, that guy's not boring.
Well, I haven't seen him because I don't have
he is-
Oathsworn, so I don't know what he does. But when I played D&D, did I tell you the story about D&D? Do you know much about D&D?
No, I've never heard of that. What's D&D?
If you didn't know what D&D
What's
is,
D&D?
it's a game.
Wrapping back, did you see the movie trailer?
I have not because I don't watch trailers anymore because I don't want any spoilers. I already know I'm going to watch it.
Unfortunate.
Well, okay, hold on. I had never played D&D. So we had a friend who was going to play D&D.
Okay.
And he told us, okay, guys, I want you to make your character. Here's how you do it. Get a mini and paint it.
Okay.
So I grabbed this mini.
Cool mini. Yeah.
And I painted it. And I said, I'm going to be a human paladin. And I show up to D&D night, and everyone's mini
like that
is
20 millimeter.
They're this big. And I'm like, shit. I didn't know that they're 34 millimeters or whatever, and this guy's like 70.
Okay. You're off on both of those, but go ahead.
I don't know what the numbers are. All I know is that this guy...
He's about 40.
He's not 40.
Yeah, about 40 millimeters.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, he's so big. Yeah. Anyways, I had to alter my guy to be a Goliath.
25.
I turned him to be
75. 75 is like...
Is that a 70? Really?
Yeah, he's not a 70.
Well, how big's D&D minis?
Like 28.
Okay, that's really small. Then maybe that makes more sense.
Yeah.
They were all to my knee.
Mini nowadays is about 32 to 35 millimeters.
So there you guys go. This was my D&D gigantic mini.
Yeah,
and it was
been massive.
So funny watching everyone on the board, and here I am.
Did they let you use that?
Yes, I changed my guy to be a Goliath. Because I'm like, well, I'll be a Goliath then.
I think he's probably more than an inch even in his. You probably took him more than one space.
The biggest problem was the fact that you're
on the little squares.
The squares. It was a big problem, and I was also really role playing. Our DM would give awards that you could spend for like XP or something if you had like a really good role playing session, or if you did something really, and I did, and he gave me the first token.
Sweet.
I was like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
I
love how you're talking like a teacher gave you a gold star.
Oh, it was such a good experience that once I played that one D&D game, I was like, I'm in. I've never played D&D since, but I'm all into the point that I'm backing the frickin'
the Tenaris one.
Well, I did that already.
Okay.
I've actually backed a few D&D campaigns.
Nice. Cool.
But I'm backing the Wormwood DM screen. That's
you just hate money and you just want to give it to other people. That must be it.
I have a spending problem.
Yeah. The moment I heard Wormwood, I knew that.
Well, it's like I get to be cool. What's the guy that did the Critical Role? He has a Wormwood screen.
Yeah, he didn't pay for it though.
No, but I can pretend I can be.
Okay, yeah.
I can pretend to be as an attractive him like him.
God, are you talking Matt Mercer?
Yes.
Matt Mercer?
Yeah, he's such an attractive man. I love his hair.
I'm just gonna let you talk.
I wish.
I got yelled at last time I commented on hair.
What did I say? What? You cannot be. They cannot hear you if you're not in the mic.
I got yelled at the last time I commented about hair.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't remember what the fuck you're talking about.
Because you don't watch my videos. I commented on people's hair in a video. I was trying to be nice, and it was, anyway.
Whose hair?
Everybody at Come On, pretty much.
What are they? Are they all losing their hair?
They all have great hair. Yeah.
Huh? Are they losing their hair?
No, that's one of the reasons I'm jealous about it.
Oh, I wish I could have long hair. I really wish I could.
Why can't you have long hair? Does yours not
grow?
So
my hair grows up. It just grows up. And my wife gets to a point where it's like up to here, and I'm like, it's gonna start falling. It'll start falling.
So I had long hair, but my problem is it kind of like naturally curls at the end. So I look like Mary Tyler Moore or something like that. Funny. It was so bad.
I'm also kind of a big guy, and she's like, it's just not gonna look as good. She's like, if you make yourself look like a Viking, you can have long hair.
You gotta start braiding your beard or something. Then
she says if I look like a Viking, and when I say that, she's thinking like what you expect.
She's thinking some character. She's like, I could.
She's thinking of like Ragnar Lothbrok from the Viking show. Like that's what she's thinking. Okay, she wants me to be.
Don't ruin that fantasy for her, man.
And I'm just here with my dad bod, just not figuring it out. But that's about it. That's what I would. We talked about everything. We made it through the whole video.
I'm sure we forgot something.
To be honest, it was fine.
Anything else you want to bring up? Anything else you want to ask me on camera?
What's your Gen Con plans?
What's my Gen Con plans?
I am not going to Gen Con, unfortunately.
I don't want to get beat up.
Do you think you would?
I don't want to get punched. Or yelled at.
Okay, this is a serious question. Do you honestly think there's a situation you can get punched at Gen Con?
No.
Okay. So then, okay.
I'd probably not.
Yeah.
So I have a mouth on me in that sometimes if I think something that like would be really funny, I'll say it.
Yeah, but
no, I don't think there would ever be any kind of physical violence here.
I've seen you around people when you don't know the people and you're quiet.
Believe it or not. Yeah. No, it's funny. Every time I like start a new job or whatever, I'm like super quiet because I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I'll make like day 3, I'll make a joke, and everybody's like,
"That's actually my biggest
freaking
problem."
Left field.
Yeah, my biggest problem is when I get a new job.
But I do wonder how.
Me off. Thank you.
Go ahead.
My biggest problem
back here.
When I get a new job, is that I talk too much, and I think I annoy people. So I always tell myself, "Don't talk," and then people are like, "That guy's an asshole."
I talk too much, hence interrupting.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm not worried about that at all. I am worried about some awkwardness, right? Like I would love to actually go and talk to Kaman about Dune.
Yeah.
But
I don't think Dune
hates.
I don't think Simon hates you.
I don't know if they know who I am.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, except that I'm going to be wearing like a Make Games Not Campaigns, mask, and I was banned on Board Game Geek shirt, and like I'm an idiot that way. But I guess I know there are some developers that don't like me or my style or whatever, or the way I
recently saw you get banned from several Facebook pages because of your disliked from people.
Sure.
Yeah, it was rectified, but
which was a great end to that actually. That actually ended up really well, but it was certainly a stressful time for I think probably both. I'm sure both parties were stressed out about that, right? But anyway, so I do worry a little bit about that. I don't want to get any glares or anything like that. But I think people act differently online than they do in person too.
Let's focus this up. Are you going to
be specific?
Yeah. Are you going to be... What is your plan for the 4 days? Are you doing event hall only? Are you doing publisher meetings? Will you be meeting any viewers for games? Like, what are you planning on doing for the 4 days?
Yes. Well, I don't play board games, as you know.
Yeah. He doesn't. He's invited to every board game night.
Going over to people's house, you could ask my best friend, who was my best man at my wedding, how often I've been to his house. 0 times. If he wants to meet me, he has to come to me, and that's because I'm just a terrible person.
You're also in Idaho, and if you're more than 10 minutes away from someone, you might as well be dead. It's the truth.
Very true. And the sad part is everybody's 10 minutes away from
everyone's 10 minutes away.
Actually, we're not, which is surprising. But okay, so I am driving there.
Yep.
My wife doesn't really like to fly. I'm bringing some board games to hand over to some people that need it, and I have some equipment and stuff like that, and I'll plan on probably getting stuff there.
Yep.
So coming back, so it actually ends up a lot cheaper. I don't mind driving. It's just us. It's kind of nice. So we're actually driving into there, but I do have a day job. I have to take vacation days off to do this. So we're driving on the 3rd and the 4th, and I'm getting there later on the 4th. So I will not be there at the beginning, but I will be there day 1 for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll be doing a video with Alex.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
I want you to tell him that.
Okay.
Say Bryan is upset.
I'll say he actually cried a little bit. It was really awkward.
I am upset because I want to do videos with people. You don't count. I've done videos with you.
You don't count. Jeez. First, you don't watch my videos.
I do watch your videos. In fact, I download your videos, which gets you a full view.
Does it really?
Yeah, I even sent the video.
You download videos?
Yeah, look at the videos I download.
Is this like you download them to convert them to MP3 like it's 2004? Or
no, so I drive. I'm building a cabin, a house in McCall, which is out. So I basically download every time I have to drive up there for work. I download a bunch of videos.
Cool.
And
I dig it.
Turns out, from Jesse from Crackalope brought it up. He said, if you download a video, it gives 100% watched, and also like as if you watched the whole thing. So
yeah, but I don't care about that. I just wanted to watch the ads. They could skip my video. I just wanted to watch the ads, unless you have YouTube.
I don't
Premium.
watch the ads. I didn't. I literally forget that YouTube even has ads.
Same because
so
for you it's probably great because it I'm sure that counts.
So it's just like a podcast. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, download all my videos.
I'll actually I have been downloading.
And then delete them.
I just sent a video or a photo to Jesse. I was like, see, support for the culture. Like I'm downloading. I downloaded all your videos.
All right. By the way, if you're a viewer with YouTube Premium and you watch this whole video, you just got like.
I want to know how many people made it. How many people made it to this far?
Comment down below the secret answer to this question.
Wolf emoji. The OGs know that. Comment a wolf emoji if you've made it this far.
And didn't skip to this part.
No one's going to skip to this part. This random ass part. It's
not random.
1 hour, 34 minutes.
Okay. Gen Con. So I'm coming there. I'm doing a video there. I'm meeting with a few guys. I was invited to an industry dinner, which sounds very interesting.
God, I wish I could go.
I wish you could have too. Hopefully next year. You were I invited you. I said you
would
come.
Yeah, but we've got my brother coming in from France.
Sure. But totally fine. And it's not cheap. To go, like it's not gonna. None of my videos are gonna pay for the trip.
I'm buying a Wormwood GM screen for a game I've played once.
Well, in that case, you should just buy a ticket to Gen Con and just not go. It's about just as equivalent.
It's probably the right. Just say it outside.
Okay, so driving there, going there for the whole days. I've never been to a convention at all. To give an example of our conventions here, we have a Comic-Con in Idaho. It takes place in a park. We don't have things here.
The library one? There wasn't a library for a while.
Yeah, it was in the library. Now it's in the park near the village.
We actually just had a board game convention that was for playing board games. I didn't go.
I didn't either. I doubt anybody
such
did.
bad content
No,
creators.
I'm sure. I mean, there were 20 people. There were 20 people there.
To be honest, I don't play board games, so neither do you. So why would I go to play board games?
Let's talk about them.
Anyways,
I'll be there the whole time, and then I'll leave on the 7th.
You doing any other videos with anyone else?
Of content creators?
Yeah.
None that I'm aware of.
What's the video about with Alex?
I don't know if I can say. It's a top 10 video.
You do so you have it already outlined?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I know Alex where he likes to have the video, like, you need to have it. He wants actionable responses, like, come up with an idea and we'll do it.
Yeah.
But you can't just be like, yeah, we're going to do what we're doing right now.
Yeah. So I did a video with him, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll do a video for you." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't care. Yeah. I mean, I'm here, right? I don't care.
Yeah.
Right. So,
whose channel is it going on?
But his. So this is going to be on his. But he needed to like find a video that would be good with me, and so like.
Did he come up with the idea?
So this was like 2 years ago. So like it took him this long to think of something.
Wow.
Because because he does a lot of stuff that I would comment on too, but it would be like this would be way too long, right? Yeah. And so he came out with the top 10 video that would be interesting from my perspective as well. And so, I think it is quite fitting.
So I'll watch
you guys
that video.
will like it. Yeah,
I'll watch that video.
It should be interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up. It's quite late, and I appreciate you coming over here and spending some time with me. Of course. And rambling along.
Of course.
And so this camera, or this camera. Tell them what you got going on. What reference is that?
The bomb is the devil.
This camera.
Subscribe to my Instagram account to see more pictures of me not eating spicy wings.
Yeah.
No, appreciate the hot ones. I actually got the Pringles.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
I want to buy the hot ones spread.
Yeah.
And do
so I got their Pringle one, and I'm like, I'm like crying, right?
Should we do one of these videos and just have the and do it?
Sure.
What if we did a top 10 list?
Wait. You can't just say, should we just do a video where we just do it?
We just do it? You know what I'm talking about.
Right on the table? Yeah.
Here. Yeah. And we just eat hot wings and do a top 10 list.
Let's do it.
Dude, that'd be fucking good.
Let's just rip them off. Let's do a hot ones.
You know, that's YouTube. That's
YouTube.
I watched him talk about it where he talked about that there are other people doing hot wing interviews.
Sure. Yeah.
It's YouTube.
Yeah. I actually have no issue with people. I mean, it's just more options for viewers.
Yeah, it's YouTube. You can, whatever. I think it would be funny and so fun
I just like eating spicy food,
I
but it affects
can't-
me more. Like people are affected by it differently, right?
I can't
get pretty
handle
affected
spicy
by it, but I
food.
love it.
I can't handle spicy.
Oh, I love it.
You hand me spicy Cheetos.
Do you
I'm
do the
done.
like flying pie habanero challenge? Have you
No.
done that? Yeah, we should do that. We should get level 4.
No. Flying pie?
Yeah, they actually make the crust out of cornbread, or like a cornmeal thing, so that it soaks all the oils in. So
Have
there's
you
not even a
been
safe bite and
to
stuff. Like, it's good.
Have you been to Big Al's?
Yes.
They have like a death burger,
Let's do it.
like a skull burger.
Sure. It's got like ghost peppers in it or something.
Yeah. And you get a skull if you finish eating it. Like you get a skull keychain thing. It's really cheapo, chintzy. My friend bought it, and he was like not having a problem. And I don't want to say anything, but he was eating it like no problem. I took a bite and I nearly died. I was like,
it sounds like you'll be more entertaining than I will be on this video. Yeah, let's do it, dude. If you want, invite me next time with some spicy food. And
so we gotta make the hot wings.
Well, you got to. I'm just coming over.
My wife will make them.
Sweet.
And then we'll do it. Yeah, that'll be fun to do. That's it.
Sold.
We're just gonna wrap this up. Thanks, guys.
guys.
Bye bye.